Cora stood before the ancient temple, her eyes absorbing the silhouettes of modern city skyscrapers on one side and untamed wilderness on the other. The structure, a relic shrouded in mystique, loomed like a silent guardian over her life, resonating with secrets that had haunted her family for generations. The temple's eternal flames, which legend declared would never extinguish, danced atop stone altars in mesmerizing defiance of time. These fires were said to bind the fate of the shifters to something larger than themselves, a primordial force that both healed and cursed. Tonight, as the cool air whispered hints of change, Cora could feel that power stirring deep within her blood. Her journey had not been one of simple coincidences. Raised in the solitude of remote forests and later thrust into the bustling chaos of New York City, Cora was perpetually caught between two worlds. Within her, an ancient wisdom intermingled with the modern pulse of life. Though she appeared gentle and reserved, a determined spirit burned inside her, a spirit that had been forged by love lost and the weight of destiny. Tonight, she was drawn back to the temple, compelled by visions that blurred the lines between dreams and reality. Earlier that day, a cryptic letter had arrived, its parchment yellowed by time and sealed with a strange emblem, the mark of the Alpha. The message was unsigned, yet every word resonated with urgency, summoning her to the sacred grounds. Cora's heart pounded as she recalled whispered family tales of a powerful being, Torin, the elusive Alpha. His existence was woven into folklore, a shifter with the uncanny ability to command both fire and fury. Her own nature, though unassuming, had inexplicably been tethered to his tumultuous legacy. As Cora stepped through the temple's heavy, carved doors, the flame-lit corridor embraced her with a warm, almost sentient glow. Each step echoed against stone walls etched with ancient runes. The hum of the flames seemed to tell stories of past betrayal, redemption, and forbidden love. She paused before a massive mural depicting a beast in mid-transformation, a stark reminder of the duality that both cursed and blessed their kind. The visual narrative hinted at the profound connection between Torin and the sacred fire, but it also evoked an unspoken warning. Power always demanded sacrifice. A soft murmur behind her pulled Cora from her contemplation. Emerging from the shadows was Torin, a commanding figure whose presence radiated both strength and vulnerability. His eyes, an intense amber, flared like embers under a midnight sky. There was an undeniable tension in the air, as though the universe had conspired to unite these two fated souls even before destiny could fully unveil its secrets. "Cora," he greeted, his voice a low rumble imbued with emotion and fatigue. "I've been waiting for you." Her heart clenched at the sound of his name, a name that carried so much weight and mystery. "Torin," she replied, her tone a blend of admiration and apprehension. "Your summons? It has brought me more questions than answers." Torin stepped closer, the flickering lights casting dancing shadows upon his chiseled features. "There's a storm coming, one that will test the very foundations of our existence. The sacred flame, our heritage, reveals truths about our past that many would kill to keep hidden. I need you by my side not just as an ally, but as someone whose soul resonates with mine." The word struck Cora deeply. For years, she had struggled with doubts about her role in the legacy of the temple and her own inner strength. The mysterious letter had stirred a longing to uncover the buried chapters of her family's history, a history marked by sacrifice and the burning need for redemption. Memories of her late mother's soft, resolute voice discussing the price of fire flooded her thoughts. Now, faced with Torin's intense gaze, she sensed that their destinies were entwined in ways she had yet to fully comprehend. Wandering deeper into the temple's interior, their footsteps synchronized like the measured beats of an ancient drum. The walls, adorned with inscriptions and archaic symbols, told tales of lost love and the price demanded by divine power. In one alcove, a plaque detailed the legend of an alpha whose curse was intertwined with the sacred flame, a curse passed down through the ages. "Beware, for the power to warm the soul may also burn the heart," it read, a caution that resonated sharply with the current peril. The tension between them was palpable as they reached the central chamber, a cavernous hall where the eternal fire roared unabated. In its light, Torin's form seemed almost ethereal, as if he were both part of the darkness and the brilliant blaze at once. Here, amidst the heat and flickering shadows, Torin laid bare the truth he had long hidden. "I have carried this secret for too long," he confessed, his voice trembling with both regret and defiance. "My connection to the sacred flame is deeper than you could ever imagine. I am bound to its destiny, cursed and blessed by the same fire that defines us. But there are forces within my own blood that seek to harness that power for destruction, and they are closing in." Cora's pulse quickened. What do you mean by forces within your blood? Are you telling me there is a part of you that betrays everything we stand for? His eyes darkened, and for a brief moment, the eternal flames seemed to dim in sympathy with his sorrow. There is a legacy of betrayal in the lineage of my kind, a legacy that has tainted our kin with a hunger for control over the flames. I fought hard against that darkness, but I fear that even my resolve might waver. And if the flame ever falters, our fate and that of everyone we love will be lost. A heavy silence ensued, pierced only by the crackling of the sacred fire. The enormity of his admission, coupled with the implicit threat that loomed over their futures, weighed on Cora. She wrestled with conflicting emotions, fear of the overwhelming destiny and an unyielding desire to embrace the power that beckoned from within the temple. The path ahead was as dangerous as it was irresistible. Stepping forward, Cora's voice softened with a mix of determination and compassion. Torin, I have always believed that true strength is forged in the fires of adversity. If our history is steeped in betrayal, then let us prove that redemption is possible. I will stand with you not just for myself, but for every soul tethered to this sacred legacy. As the words left her lips, an unexpected tremor shook the temple. The flames flickered violently, casting distorted images on the walls as if the very fabric of reality was under threat. A low, echoing growl emerged from the depths of the chamber, reverberating against the ancient stone. Torin's eyes widened, a mixture of alarm and grim resolve etched upon his face. "We are not alone," he murmured, barely audible over the rising roar of the fire. "Someone, or something, is stirring in the shadows." Before Cora could respond, the ground beneath them shuddered. Dust cascaded from the vaulted ceiling, and a piercing scream, both human and beast, cut through the oppressive silence. The temple, once a sanctuary of eternal flame and hope, now teetered on the brink of chaos. In that moment of terror, every step they had taken, every secret whispered in the hallowed halls, seemed to converge into a singular, daunting truth. The past was not content to remain buried, and the price of power was coming due. In the midst of the rising tumult, Cora grasped Torin's arm as if anchoring herself to reality. "We must uncover the truth," she insisted, her voice trembling yet resolute. "No matter the cost, we cannot let the flame be extinguished, nor can we allow our legacy to be twisted by those who would exploit it." With the corridor bathed in flickering firelight and shadows dancing ominously around them, Torin led Cora toward a secret passage hidden behind an altar, a passage rumored to hold the ancient records of their kind. Each step was laden with the weight of destiny, each heartbeat echoing the promise of a redemption yet unfathomed. At the threshold of the secret chamber, a final inscription awaited them, a riddle that hinted at both hope and despair. The words, carved meticulously into the stone, challenged the very notion of fate. With every ounce of courage, Cora read the inscription aloud, her voice merging with the murmuring flames. "In the embers of betrayal lies the spark of salvation. Only in the crucible of truth can the sacred fire be reborn." Her declaration resonated as a promise, a vow to confront the impending darkness, to unearth the deep-seated secrets of her lineage, and to stand unwavering by Torin's side. Yet, as she uttered the final word of the inscription, the tremors intensified and the chamber's walls began to shift, hinting at a hidden mechanism that might either reveal salvation or unleash unspeakable horrors. Before either could react, a sudden flash of blinding light enveloped the corridor, silencing the roaring flames and the ominous sounds. A chimerical vision gripped Cora's mind, a montage of fragmented memories, half-remembered dreams, and prophetic images of a future marred by loss and betrayal. In that split second, the sacred temple transformed from a sanctuary into a battlefield of fate. Torin's grip tightened on her hand. "Whatever awaits us beyond this light," he vowed quietly, "we must be prepared to face it together. The truth, no matter how painful, will guide our path to redemption." Caught between the relentless pull of destiny and her inner struggle with an unknown future, Cora felt the weight of every secret, every lie of her family's past converging within her. Her soul trembled at the thought of what was to come. Yet, amid the encroaching chaos, a spark of determination ignited within her, a burning resolve to challenge the darkness and unlock the legacy that fate had so meticulously concealed. As the vision faded into eerie silence and the trembling floor steadied beneath them, Cora and Torin stood at the cusp of an uncertain journey, united by their shared resolve and the promise of unveiling the mysteries that bound them. The echo of prophecy, the scent of burning memories, and the relentless pulse of the sacred flame signified that nothing would ever be the same again. Unfolded as Cora and Torin passed through the hidden passage behind the altar, their footsteps echoing softly along ancient stone walls. The corridor, dimly lit by the residual glow of the sacred flame, led them deeper into the temple's subterranean labyrinth, a place where time appeared to stand still, and every step reverberated with the weight of long-buried secrets. The air grew cooler as they advanced, mingling with a faint scent of smoke and earth. Torrhen's expression was somber, as if his soul bore burdens heavier than the visible physical toll of the temple's age. "This passage has not been traversed in decades," he murmured, his voice almost lost amidst the dripping water and the soft rustle of unseen drafts. "It was created to preserve our kin's most guarded truths." Cora's thoughts whirled as she recalled fragmented memories of whispered bedtime stories and hushed warnings from a distant past. The temple had always been a guardian of family lore, a vault for both honor and shame. Now, standing in the dim corridor, she felt the chill of uncertainty mingling with the warming embers of resolve. Every carved rune on the walls evoked a legacy of pain, passion, and mysterious rites. The inscriptions recounted tales of ancient battles fought under blood-red skies, of alliances formed with both the divine and the damned. One particular emblem, a coiled serpent entwined with a blazing torch, captivated her attention. "Torrhen, what does this symbol mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with curiosity and apprehension. Torrhen paused, his eyes narrowing as he carefully examined the ancient sigil. "It represents the duality of our nature," he explained, his tone laden with both reverence and melancholy. "The eternal struggle between light and darkness, passion and betrayal. It reminds us that our power can create but also destroy. This emblem has haunted my lineage, marking both our glory and our curse." The revelation stirred conflicting emotions in Cora. She felt drawn to its beauty and mystery, yet the underlying implications were ominous. In that moment, a faint echo of voices reached them, a hushed conversation drifting from a distant chamber. Cora exchanged a glance with Torrhen, and they silently agreed to follow the sound. The source of the whispers lay beyond a narrow doorway, partially concealed by a heavy tapestry embroidered with shifting images of wolves and flames. With a shared nod, they stepped into a circular chamber illuminated by scattered, flickering candlelight. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, almost as if the room itself anticipated the unfolding of events. Inside the chamber, shelves lined with brittle scrolls and weathered tomes testified to centuries of knowledge and hidden history. In the middle of the room stood an imposing stone pedestal, upon which rested an ancient, leather-bound journal. Torn pages lay scattered around it, suggesting a struggle or a hurried search for truths long suppressed. In one corner, a weathered portrait of a regal shifter family hung askew, the eyes of its subjects glinting with an enigmatic intensity. Torrhen approached the pedestal slowly, each measured step echoing like a heartbeat. "This journal belonged to my ancestor Elias," he revealed quietly. "He was a revered alpha, known both for his wisdom and his tragic downfall. His words, they offer insight into the betrayal that has tormented our lineage for generations." Cora's gaze fell upon the portrait, her eyes tracing the familiar features of a man whose countenance mirrored Torrhen's own. "He is your forefather," she observed, a shiver running down her spine. "What secrets did he leave behind in this journal?" Torrhen carefully lifted the journal, handling it as if it were a relic of his very soul. The fragile pages crackled under his touch. Elias believed that the sacred flame was more than just a symbol of our power, it was a living memory, an echo of past transgressions and lost dreams. He wrote of a hidden ritual, one that could either purify our cursed bloodline or irrevocably bind it to destruction. The betrayal, the one that shattered our trust long ago, is interwoven with this flame. As Torrhen began reading aloud a passage written in elegant, archaic script, the couple sensed the temple itself responding to his words. The flames, though subdued, flickered with renewed vigor. The passage told of a sacred ceremony where the rightful heir of the flame must confront the accumulated sins of past generations. Failure would doom not only the bearer of the power, but also every soul connected to their kind. The words resonated like a solemn oath, reverberating through the chamber with an almost prophetic cadence. Cora absorbed every syllable, her mind racing with possibilities and fears. "If the ritual is as dangerous as it sounds, what choices do we have?" she asked, the tremor in her voice a mix of dread and determination. "Is redemption truly within our grasp, or are we destined to repeat our ancestors' downfall?" Torrhen's eyes, reflective pools of vulnerability and steeled conviction, met hers. "Redemption is not the absence of pain or betrayal, Cora. It is the courage to face our darkest legacies and emerge, scarred but unbroken." Elias left clues, yes, but also warnings. To succeed, we must confront not only external threats but also the turmoil within ourselves. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden, resounding clang, a sound that seemed to reverberate from the very depths of the temple. The echo was accompanied by a shift in the atmosphere, and the temperature in the chamber dropped abruptly. Shadows coalesced into shapes that darted across the walls, suggestive of hostile presences awakened by their intrusion. Instinctively, Torin's grip on the journal tightened. "We aren't alone here," he warned, his voice low and cautious. "This chamber was sealed against intruders long ago. Someone or something has shattered that seal." In the periphery, a figure cloaked in darkness emerged from behind a pillar. The newcomer's presence exuded both menace and sorrow, a being whose eyes glowed with the same ferocity as the sacred flame, yet whose aura was unmistakably tainted by betrayal. "So, the flame has found its heirs again," the figure intoned in a voice that was both soft and foreboding. "But beware, not all who hold the power are worthy of its grace." Cora moved to intercept the intruder, her instincts propelling her forward despite the peril. "Who are you?" she demanded, standing between the shadowed figure and Torin. "What do you want?" The figure's smile was enigmatic, a blend of mocking amusement and melancholy. "I am Azrael, a keeper of forgotten truths, the voice of consequences yet unfulfilled. I have watched over your kind, witnessed the cycles of loyalty and treachery, and now I bring forth a choice: confront your cursed legacy, or succumb to the shadows that hunger for your downfall." Torin stepped forward, his presence authoritative despite the tremor of uncertainty in his eyes. "Azrael, if you hold any allegiance to our cause, then reveal what you know about the betrayal that has plagued us for so long," he demanded, his tone resonating with both challenge and hope. A gentle chuckle escaped Azrael. "The betrayal is as ancient as the sacred flame itself," he intoned cryptically. "Long ago, when the world was raw and destiny was being written, one of your ancestors sought to harness the flame for selfish ambition. In doing so, he not only doomed himself but set in motion a series of events that would fracture trust and ignite enmity among kin. The legacy of that treachery has been passed down, a curse shadowing every act of power. But there is an end, a reckoning, that can restore balance, if you dare to face it." The weight of Azrael's words settled over the chamber like a palpable darkness. Cora's mind raced. Every revelation compounded the risks they were about to face, yet also illuminated the potential for a future unbound by the sins of the past. "How can we end this cycle?" she asked, her voice a blend of defiance and desperation. "Is there truly a way to redeem our lineage without being consumed by the very flame that defines us?" Azrael's gaze intensified, and for a moment, his expression softened as if recalling long-forgotten memories. "There is always a path to redemption," he whispered, almost to himself. "But it requires a sacrifice that may shatter illusions and rebuild hearts. The ritual mentioned in Elias's journal must be completed under the rare convergence of destiny and choice, a time when the sacred flame burns at its zenith and the sins of old are laid bare. Only then can you reclaim what was lost." Torin's eyes met Cora's, and in that silent exchange lay an unspoken agreement. Their journey was about to take an even darker turn, yet their resolve strengthened under the burden of impending sacrifice. "We will accept the challenge," he declared firmly, his tone resolute. "For too long our history has been shadowed by betrayal and regrets. It's time to break free from that cycle, no matter the cost." Azrael's lips curved into a knowing smile, and for a moment, the chamber was bathed in an ethereal glow that intertwined with the flickering candles and the sacred fire above. "Very well," he intoned. "I shall guide you to the crossroads where the ritual commences. But heed this: what you choose in that crucible will determine not only your fate but the destiny of all who share your bloodline. Let the reckoning begin." With those ominous words lingering in the charged air, Azrael turned and melted back into the shadows, leaving Cora and Torin alone with the echoes of their past and the uncertain promise of redemption. The journal, now a beacon of hope and despair intertwined, lay open on the pedestal, its ancient script a testament to both the glory and the curse of their kind. Torin took a deep breath, steadying himself against the tumult of emotions surging within. "We must prepare ourselves," he said, his voice resolute despite the underlying tremor of anxiety. "Our journey will take us to the very heart of our ancestry, to a place where the boundaries between life and legend blur. There, the convergence of the sacred flame and our own destiny awaits, a crucible that will test our faith, our strength, and our love." Cora, absorbing the gravity of their decision, nodded silently. "Every step we take is a step toward unearthing the truths long hidden," she replied softly. "I fear the cost of this journey, yet I cannot ignore the call of fate. If redemption lies at the end of this path, I am ready to embrace the pain and the beauty of our legacy. Their voices mingled with the ambient sounds of the ancient temple, forging a pact between two souls intertwined by destiny and tempered by the fires of trial. As they prepared to leave the chamber, the sense of foreboding blended with a spark of hope, a delicate ember of belief that the cycle of betrayal could be reversed through courage, love, and sacrifice. In the silent corridors that followed, every etched rune, every flickering shadow, bore silent witness to the couple's determination. The temple, once a silent guardian of secrets, now pulsed with the raw energy of impending change. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, a journey where every revelation would uncover more questions than answers, where the past and the present converged in a dance of fire and fate. Outside, the city beyond the temple remained oblivious to the events unfolding in its ancient heart. The modern skyline and the rugged wilderness served as a stark reminder that the battle between legacy and destiny was as universal as it was timeless, a confrontation that transcended the boundaries of eras, cultures, and beliefs. As Cora and Torin emerged from the labyrinthine passageway, a storm began to brew on the horizon. The winds carried whispers of distant upheaval, and the skies darkened in anticipation of the coming reckoning. The sacred flame, visible even from afar, shone like a beacon amid the impending tempest, its light promising both salvation and the revelation of hidden truths. With the journals safely in Torin's grasp and the weight of the past pressing down upon them, they ascended a narrow staircase that led to another secret level of the temple. It was there, amid a convergence of ancient relics and modern decay, that the first signs of the forthcoming ritual began to manifest. Cryptic symbols and murals hinted at a celestial alignment, a convergence that, once reached, would unlock the portal to the reckoning promised by Azrael. In that moment, the stakes of their journey crystallized. The ancestral curse, the betrayal that had haunted generations, and the impending ritual were all interconnected threads in a tapestry that stretched far beyond the temple's walls. For Cora and Torin, the path to redemption would be a battle fought both within and without, a challenge that demanded courage beyond measure and a love that could defy even the most insidious shadows. The temple's silence was suddenly pierced by a resounding chime, a signal that the first phase of the ritual was imminent. The sound reverberated through the halls, summoning them to a vast, circular chamber where the celestial convergence was said to occur. It was there that destiny would forge its inescapable decree, and every secret held by their lineage would be forced into the light. As they prepared to step into the chamber, Torin paused and looked deeply into Cora's eyes. "We stand at the precipice of our fate," he said quietly. "What happens here will redefine everything we know about ourselves, our family, and the sacred flame. Whatever trials await us in that convergence, I vow to fight for the redemption we both deserve." Cora, her heart pounding like a battle drum, placed her hand gently on his arm. "Together we will face whatever comes," she assured him. "No matter how dark the night, the flame within us will guide the way." Her voice held a promise not only to him, but also to every soul bound by the ancestral curse, a vow that their fight for redemption would not be in vain. Stepping into the convergence chamber, the couple found themselves bathed in an otherworldly light. The room was a cauldron of shifting energies, where every movement seemed orchestrated by forces beyond mortal ken. The air vibrated with latent power, and as the sacred flame roared with renewed intensity, every heartbeat echoed with a blend of hope and dread. A final inscription, larger and more elaborate than any they had seen before, crowned the far wall, a poetic declaration of both the inevitability of fate and the possibility of rebirth. In the crucible of betrayal, the spark of hope ignites. Only the willing may claim redemption. Its words glimmered in the radiant light, urging them to cast aside their reservations and step boldly into the unknown. In that charged moment, as the first beams of the celestial alignment caressed the sacred symbols, Cora and Torin shared a look of profound unity. Their intertwined destinies, marked by both desire and despair, were about to be tested in a trial that would either shatter them beyond repair or kindle a radiant new beginning. The convergence chamber vibrated with the promise of transformation as ancient energies stirred awake. Every whispered secret, every hidden betrayal from their lineage pressed against the confines of the temple, ready to burst forth. The path to redemption lay shrouded in uncertainty, and the outcome of the impending ritual could tilt the balance between salvation and doom for all who bore the sacred flame. And so, with hearts aflame and minds steeled against the torrents of fate, Cora and Torin embraced the reckoning awaiting them, a journey that promised revelations as profound as they were perilous, a crucible where the fires of redemption would either purify or annihilate the legacy of their kind. Tempest arose as Cora and Torin stepped back from the convergence chamber, their hearts still reeling from the otherworldly radiance that had enveloped them. Now, in the dim corridors of the temple's newly revealed sanctum, the weight of betrayal and impending destiny pressed with an intensity that threatened to shatter every hope they had painstakingly built. The passage ahead led to a vast, forgotten wing, a relic of age-old rites where secrets were interred and loyalties once shattered beyond repair. The air in this wing was thick with the musk of ancient incense and sorrow. Stone walls, worn and pitted by the passage of centuries, bore faded murals of a time when the sacred flame was worshipped as both a source of life and an instrument of damnation. Cora's gaze landed on a mural depicting a grand council of shifters, their faces etched with the duality of power and anguish. In the midst of these timeless visages, one figure stood apart, a solitary warrior whose eyes shone with the same ember glow as Torin's, yet was marred by an unmistakable trace of treachery. Torin, too, paused before the mural, his expression darkening as he traced a calloused finger along the depiction of the betrayer. "That man, he is the origin of the curse," he murmured almost to himself. "My ancestor, a revered alpha who turned his back on our sacred duty in search of forbidden power." The admission rolled off his tongue with a bitterness that stung like the acrid smoke of a burned offering. It was a confession that carried decades of resentment, an unspoken burden passed down through generations. Cora's eyes widened as she absorbed his words. "So the betrayal isn't a recent corruption of our power, it was forged in the fires of our inception," she said quietly, the gravity of the revelation weighing on her. "It means that even the roots of our kind were steeped in ambition and treachery." Her voice trembled with a mixture of dismay and determination, knowing that the secret they sought to expose was more intricate and insidious than any of them had anticipated. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by the creak of ancient hinges. A narrow door at the far end of the wing slowly swung open to reveal a chamber cloaked in darkness, save for a single shaft of moonlight that broke through a high window. Torin beckoned Cora to follow him, and together they stepped into the hidden sanctum, where the past and present intermingled in ghostly whispers. The floor, covered with cracked tiles and scattered debris, bore faint traces of ritualistic markings, a testament to the countless ceremonies held in reverence, or curse, of the sacred flame. Inside the chamber, a cold breeze stirred the dust, and shadows danced along the walls, creating a macabre symphony of light and dark. As they moved deeper, Torin's hand trembled slightly while clutching a relic, the charred remains of a ceremonial pendant, inscribed with symbols matching those on the mural. "This belonged to the very man who betrayed our trust," he revealed, his voice thick with regret. "It is said that he did not merely abandon his responsibilities. Instead, he sought to unleash an ancient force that could engulf our kind in perpetual strife." He paused, his eyes narrowing as if peering into the depths of a hidden memory. "That ambition, that insatiable hunger for power, set in motion the downfall that we now strive to undo." Cora, deeply affected by his words, knelt before a stone altar at the chamber's center. With deliberate care, she picked up a faded parchment that lay atop the altar, its ink smudged by time. The parchment was a torn page from a forbidden grimoire detailing the ritual of the sacrifice of flames. According to legend, the ritual had the capacity to either purge a soul of its darkness or irrevocably bind it to an everlasting torment. "This page, it speaks of a trial by fire that only the worthy can endure," she said, her voice a hushed reverence mingled with fear. "The betrayer believed that by mastering this ritual, one could steal the very essence of the sacred flame and mold it to their will." Torin knelt beside her, the flickering candlelight illuminating the strain on his face. "For generations, our bloodline has been splintered by this curse. We have tried to forget the transgressions of our ancestors, burying them deep beneath the ashes of hopeful redemption. But the truth is inescapable, the betrayal runs as deep as the roots of our legacy." His tone was a blend of sorrow and determination, revealing an inner conflict that had long plagued him. As they continued to explore the chamber, the silence between them grew heavy with unspoken questions and mutual resolve. Every crevice and carved inscription in the stone seemed to whisper warnings and prophecies. Amid this palpable tension, a sudden resonant beat disrupted the stillness, a drumming sound echoing like a heartbeat from somewhere beyond the chamber. The sound reverberated down the corridor, summoning both dread and anticipation. With cautious steps, they followed the haunting rhythm, which eventually led them to a secret vault concealed behind a massive, weathered door. The door itself was a masterpiece of ancient craftsmanship, engraved with a maze of symbols that pulsed with an eerie luminescence. "There," Torin whispered, his breath shallow with a mix of fear and hope, lies the evidence of the betrayal that has cursed us. Within this vault is an artifact that holds the key to the ritual's true power, one that can either mend our fractured legacy or ignite it into uncontrollable fury. Hesitant yet resolute, Cora reached out and pushed the door open, revealing a chamber filled with relics and dusty tomes, a veritable archive of the triumphs and tragedies of their ancestors. Amid this treasure trove of forbidden history, a singular object stood out, a mirror framed in scorched iron, its surface clouded yet undeniably captivating. The mirror exuded an almost magnetic pull, as if it contained the soul of the betrayed and the betrayer alike. Legend has it that this mirror reflects not what is, but what was and what might yet be, Torrin said quietly as he approached it. His eyes searched his own reflection and then the shadowed depths of the mirror, as if seeking answers from a spectral realm. They say that when a true heir confronts it, the mirror reveals the authentic tale of our bloodline, a narrative that not only chronicles betrayal but also offers a glimpse into the promise of redemption. Cora's hand trembled as she reached for the mirror's frame. And if this is true, then what does it show of us? Of our choice? Of the consequences of our actions? Her inquiry was both a plea for clarity and a challenge to the destiny that had been etched into their history. Before Torrin could reply, the mirror's surface began to ripple like the surface of a heated lake. A spectral image emerged, a vision of a young alpha, eyes burning with ambition, whose smile was as seductive as it was sinister. In that fleeting glimpse, the vision revealed the moment of betrayal, an act of treachery so profound that it splintered families and ignited centuries-long enmity. The image flickered violently between past and present, shifting to show a cascade of tormented faces, loved ones lost, vows broken, and a trust shattered by the betrayal of blood. A chill swept through the vault, and Cora gasped as the spectral scene intensified into a crescendo of raw emotion. The mirror, it shows the moment it all began, she whispered, her voice echoing off the cold stone walls. It's as if the mirror seeks to compel us to confront what has long been suppressed. Torrin, his eyes fixed on the enigmatic vision, spoke with a steely resolve. We must accept the darkness of our past to reclaim the light of our future. The betrayer's ambition was the root of our curse, but his legacy does not have to define our destiny. His words were a defiant challenge to the chains of history, an invocation of hope amid despair. It was then that the vault door behind them creaked ominously, and a figure shrouded in shifting shadows reappeared. The newcomer's presence was both unnerving and magnetic, a reminder that the past could never be entirely exorcised. You confront the mirror as if you believe its revelations can mend the fissures within your bloodline, the figure remarked, a hint of both mocking amusement and weary despair tinting the words. But know this, the path to redemption is arduous, laden with sacrifices that may leave scars deeper than the betrayal itself. Cora and Torrin exchanged a wary glance. The intruder, who introduced himself simply as Riven, was a mysterious wanderer whose eyes betrayed a familiarity with the sacred flames and their tumultuous history. Riven, Cora addressed him cautiously. What is your purpose here? Do you seek to help us, or are you another remnant of the dark past? Riven's gaze softened ever so slightly before hardening with solemn resolve. I am neither savior nor saboteur, he stated, his voice a measured cadence that carried the weight of endless nights spent wandering the corridors of guilt and redemption. I am a witness, a keeper of forgotten truths. I have seen the cycles of betrayal and repentance, and I know that your path is fraught with choices that will define not only your future but that of every soul touched by this eternal flame. Torrin stepped forward, his voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling around them. We choose to confront our past and learn from it. Our legacy, however painful, must be acknowledged if we are ever to break free from its chains. Riven, will you show us what lies ahead? A wry smile crept across Riven's face as he gestured toward the mirror. The mirror has always revealed what you are willing to see, but it demands that you surrender your illusions. To move forward, you must endure an ordeal that binds your hearts to the truth of your ancestry. His voice lowered to a near whisper, laden with the gravity of forbidden knowledge. Prepare yourselves for the trial of flames, a trial that will scorch your doubts and lay bare the deepest scars of your souls. The chamber's atmosphere grew oppressively heavy as Riven's words sank in. Cora closed her eyes briefly, grappling with the terror of confronting secrets that could unravel every thread of her identity. In that suspended moment, the mirror shimmered one final time, urging her to be both witness and participant in the reckoning of her lineage. The spectral image faded, leaving behind only a profound silence that was as deafening as it was revealing. Torrin reached out and clasped Cora's hand tightly, their connection a shared promise amid the looming uncertainty. "We are ready," he declared in a voice that quivered only slightly with the enormity of their decision. "We will endure this trial, even if it means facing the darkest corners of our existence, to reclaim the power of redemption that is our birthright." A ripple of energy surged through the vault as if the very walls were resonating with the fervor of their conviction. The echo of ancient incantations, long confined to the whispers of time, filled the space. Riven's eyes shone with a solemn empathy as he stepped back, leaving them to face the portal that had materialized before the mirror, a gateway where the past converged with the promise of absolution and the potential for catastrophic upheaval. In that charged moment, the relic-laden vault transformed into a crucible of destiny. The portal pulsed with a spectral fire that beckoned them to step forward, its lights dancing wildly in a chaotic rhythm of hope and despair. Every heartbeat, every shared glance between Cora and Torin, now bore witness to a trial that would either absolve them of the ancestral curse or bind them irrevocably to a legacy of ruin. With a final, resolute nod to one another, they stepped toward the portal, the threshold to a trial that promised to unveil the full measure of their legacy, a measure written in the scars of betrayal, tempered by the fire of redemption, and balanced precariously on the cusp of fate. The corridor behind them vanished into twilight, leaving nothing but the fierce luminance of the portal as a beacon of both peril and possibility. In that moment suspended between agony and aspiration, every secret, every lie, and every unhealed wound of their past converged into a single irrevocable decision, a decision that would forever alter the course of their lives. With hearts ablaze and souls on the edge of transformation, Cora and Torin prepared to face the ultimate trial, as the portal's spectral flames beckoned them forward into an uncertain future where destiny was finally ready to be rewritten. Emerged as Cora, Torin, and Riven stepped into the spectral portal, a swirling vortex of fire and shadow that transported them into a realm where time and memory merged. The world beyond the threshold was unlike any they had known, a boundless expanse of shifting landscapes, where relics of the past intertwined with echoes of the future in a dazzling ethereal panorama. Here, the sacred flame did not simply burn. It pulsed with life, weaving every memory, every betrayal, and every hope into a single tapestry of destiny. The air vibrated with an otherworldly intensity, and as they advanced, visions began to materialize before their eyes. Cora saw flickers of her childhood, a home ablaze with both laughter and sorrow, alongside images of lost relatives whispering ancient secrets. Torin, stoic yet visibly burdened, glimpsed the fateful moment of his ancestors' treachery, a scene marred by pride and the sinister allure of forbidden power. Riven, a silent sentinel in their midst, watched these revelations with calm eyes, as if he had long borne witness to the cyclical nature of their existence. A deep, resonant voice echoed around them, seemingly emanating from the very heart of this liminal space. "Welcome to the crucible where destinies are tested," it intoned, each syllable reverberating like the toll of a distant bell. "Here the flames do not judge, they reveal." The voice, neither male nor female, held an ageless cadence that stirred both dread and determination. Cora's heart pounded as she grasped Torin's hand, feeling the steadiness of his resolve amidst the tumultuous cascade of memories. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice steady yet laced with awe. "Are we to confront the sum of our past sins and the promise of our future all at once?" Torin's gaze met hers with a mingled intensity and vulnerability. "It is a realm forged from the essence of our souls," he explained. "Each of us carries the embers of betrayal, love, and the unyielding desire for redemption. Here we must face those truths head-on, allow the fire to purify our hearts, and if we are strong enough, emerge reborn." His words were a solemn vow, a promise that despite the agony of revelations, there existed a path to renewal. As they proceeded through an environment of radiant chaos, the trio encountered tangible manifestations of their lineage's tortured history. Before them lay a crystalline lake, its surface flickering with images of ancient ceremonies and long-forgotten rites. The water was filled with spectral reflections, ancestors who had embraced the sacred flame in both triumph and despair, their faces etched with the wisdom and sorrow of centuries. Cora recognized figures whose eyes shone with love and regret. Each visage was a mirror of the internal battles that had defined their bloodline. In that hypnotic moment, she realized that the flames burning within her were not solely destructive. They were also a promise of transformative power. The landscape around them shifted suddenly, and the trio found themselves standing on an obsidian plateau beneath a sky lit with surreal constellations, stars that seemed to map their very fates. In the center of the plateau, a massive stone dais stood, engraved with intricate symbols representing the sacred flame, the Alpha lineage, and the eternal cycle of betrayal and redemption. It was here, the voice declared, that the trial would commence. Riven moved forward first, his steps measured as he approached the dais. "The trial of flames," he said quietly, "is not meant to break you, it is meant to reveal your deepest truth. Only by embracing both the agony of betrayal and the hope of forgiveness can you harness the power of your legacy." His gaze swept over Cora and Torin, each of them confronting a storm of emotions born from memories and prophecies. A sudden gust of wind erupted from the dais, carrying with it disembodied voices. One voice, gentle yet insistent, called out, "Surrender your illusions, accept the truth within." Another, harsh and condemning, roared, "You are bound by the chains of your ancestors. Embrace the darkness, for there is no escape." The dichotomy of these voices deepened the internal conflict raging within each of them, forcing them to confront painful realizations they had long avoided. With trembling determination, Cora stepped onto the dais. The stone beneath her feet felt alive, pulsating with the heat of ancient fires, as if urging her to cast aside her fears. "I acknowledge the sorrows of my past," she declared, her voice echoing through the desolate expanse. "I accept the pain that has scarred my soul, for it has also forged the strength within me." At her words, the ground beneath her glowed softly, and the oppressive weight of uncertainty began to ease, if only slightly. Torin followed her example, climbing the dais with measured steps. As he reached the center, fragments of his lineage's darkest moments surged forth. A memory of pride turned to hubris, the treacherous act of his forefather, and the haunted eyes of those who suffered because of that betrayal. He clenched his fists, his knuckles white with the intensity of his struggle. "I see now that my strength lies not in denying my lineage but in accepting its full measure," he confessed, his voice resonant with both sorrow and hope. "I will not let the sins of the past define who I must become." In that declaration, the spectral flames responded with a brilliant surge, as if affirming his newfound clarity. The final moment of the trial beckoned as the spectral energies coalesced into an incandescent vortex above the dais. Riven raised his arms in a silent incantation, guiding the energies into a concentrated beam of light that swept over Cora and Torin. In that blinding flash, the tumult of the past and the promise of the future merged. Memories, secrets, betrayals, and the hope of redemption flowed into a single overwhelming sensation. For a brief, excruciating minute, time seemed to fracture into 1,000 shards of emotion, each one a reminder of what had been and what might yet be. Visions overwhelmed them. Cora saw herself as both a frightened child and a fierce guardian, every face of her family interwoven with moments of love and pain. Torin faced his own crucible, a mirror reflecting both his darkest impulses and the tender nobility of his spirit. Amid the spectral storm, the sacred flame's radiance grew unabated, bathing them in a pure, all-encompassing light that seemed to erase every lie and every secret once and for all. Then, as suddenly as it had arisen, the vortex began to subside. The spectral energies retreated, receding into the ether and leaving behind a profound silence. In that hush, Cora and Torin found themselves kneeling at the dais, their bodies trembling and their souls laid bare. Riven's voice, now soft and almost tender, whispered, "You have faced your crucible. The truth of your legacy now resides in your hearts. The choice is yours, to rebuild on the foundation of pain, or to let the sacred flame guide you to a brighter destiny." In that quiet moment of reckoning, Cora and Torin exchanged a look heavy with mutual understanding and unspoken promise. They had both endured the worst of their collective history and, in that suffering, discovered the seeds of redemption. No longer were they defined solely by the betrayal of their ancestors. Instead, they were empowered by the hard-won wisdom that only comes from embracing one's true self, even the parts shrouded in darkness. Rising slowly from the dais, Torin extended his hand to Cora. "We are no longer bound by the shadows of our past," he declared, his voice imbued with renewed determination and hope. "We have been purified by the trial of flames. Our love, our pain, and our legacy all converge into a promise that we will forge a new path for our people, one where the sacred flame burns not as a curse, but as a beacon of hope." Cora, her eyes glistening with the remnants of the spectral light and fresh resolve, took his hand firmly. "Then let us carry this truth forward," she replied with soft, yet unwavering conviction. "The flames that once threatened to consume us now light our way towards a future where betrayal gives way to truth, and where every scar tells the story of our strength." As the light of the spectral vortex faded completely, the trio slowly exited the obsidian plateau. They returned to the familiar corridors of the temple, only to find that the atmosphere had subtly transformed. The oppressive chill of past sorrows had given way to a cautious optimism. Every ancient inscription and fading mural now seemed imbued with the possibility of healing, of a legacy rewritten by the very souls that dared to confront it. Outside the temple, the modern world awaited, a bustling cityscape interwoven with the wild, untamed beauty of nature. The contrast was striking. The ancient, mystical forces of the sacred flame had met the relentless pace of contemporary life. Yet within that dichotomy, Cora and Torin discovered that true power lay in the harmonious integration of both worlds. The secrets of the past could illuminate the path to the future, provided one had the courage to unearth and embrace them. As they walked side by side under a sky streaked with the hues of dawn, their conversation took on a note of hopeful introspection. They spoke of new beginnings and the work that lay ahead, the restoration of trust within their fractured community, the reformation of long-standing traditions steeped in grief, and the need to safeguard the sacred flame from those who would exploit its power for selfish ends. Every step was a testament to their journey, a journey of pain, redemption, and ultimately rebirth. Riven, who had silently trailed behind as their witness and guide, finally broke his quiet vigil. "Your trial was but one chapter in the book of your destiny," he intoned. "The legacy you now bear is not defined solely by the darkness of your past, but by the light you choose to kindle for the future. Go forth and let the sacred flame be your guide." The words resonated deeply within Cora and Torin, and as they continued their walk, the cool morning air seemed to carry with it the promise of renewal and justice. Every moment of suffering had led them to this juncture, where destiny was no longer a predetermined path, but a canvas for transformation painted with their own dreams and sacrifices. Determined to rebuild what had been broken and to guide their people into an era where the scars of betrayal were no longer the measure of their worth, they embraced the challenge before them with hearts ablaze. Their newfound clarity and unity lit a beacon of hope, a radiant testament to the enduring power of love and the possibility of rebirth born from the crucible of destiny. In that transformative moment, as the echoes of the spectral trial faded into the soft murmur of a waking world, Cora and Torin stepped forward into an uncertain but promising future, a future that they would shape together with every beat of their liberated hearts. Their journey through the flames had altered them irrevocably, leaving behind the painful residue of a broken past and opening the door to a destiny of courage, compassion, and ultimately reconciliation. Rose in the quiet pre-dawn light as Cora, Torin, and Riven returned from the depths of mystical trials to the outer sanctum of the ancient temple. The corridors, now softened by the early glow of a new day, seemed to pulse with a gentle warmth, a stark contrast to the scorching flames of conflict and despair they had so recently endured. In this hallowed place where the boundaries between the modern world and timeless legend blurred, every stone and inscription bore witness to a history rife with pain, passion, and the promise of renewal. In the lingering silence, as the first rays of sunlight began to infiltrate the temple's sacred halls, Cora's thoughts churned with the revelations of their arduous journey. The arduous trial, the spectral visions, and the countless secrets unearthed had brought her to a precipice of understanding, one that demanded more than acknowledgement, it required transformation. With each step through corridors adorned with relics of her ancestors, she felt the weight of her heritage shift from a burdensome curse to a hallowed legacy of strength and redemption. Torin, still carrying the storm of emotions from the trials, walked silently by her side. His eyes, once haunted by the shadows of betrayal, now shone with a renewed conviction. The ritual had stripped away the false armor of denial, laying bare the raw truth of his lineage. The revelations of ancient treachery, of an alpha who had once betrayed his kin in a relentless pursuit of selfish ambition, had forced him to confront not only his family's dark past but also his own vulnerabilities. He understood, at last, that forgiveness and self-acceptance were the keys to rewriting a destiny marred by old transgressions. Riven, ever the enigmatic guardian and chronicler of forgotten tales, observed the transformation in his companions with a measured calm. The secrets he had guarded so long now seemed less like relics of sorrow and more like catalysts for growth. His role had been that of a guide, a silent reminder that the past, as harrowing as it may be, need not chain one to a future defined solely by regret. A sudden, soft murmur of voices, echoes of long-departed ancestors, drifted through the chamber, drawing the trio toward an imposing archway at the far end of the sanctum. Beyond the arch lay a circular chamber encircled by ornate mosaics that depicted the saga of the sacred flame, moments of exultation, heartbreak, and ultimately, a glimpse of hope that defied the passage of time. Here, at the threshold of final reckoning, a presence manifested, a spectral figure cloaked in radiant light that seemed to pulse in harmony with the rising sun. In a voice that resonated like the chime of silver bells, the spectral figure spoke, "You have endured the flame's fury, you have confronted the depths of betrayal, and you have emerged with hearts unshadowed by the sins of the past. Now I reveal to you the final secret, a truth that has been enshrouded in mystery for generations." Cora, her breath catching in her throat, stepped forward, her voice trembling with equal measures of fear and hope. "Who are you? What truth do you bring us?" The figure's gaze, warm and all-knowing, settled on her. "I am the spirit of Eloria, the original keeper of the sacred flame. Long ago, during the dawn of your kind, I forged a covenant with the forces of nature, a promise that the flame would never solely be a harbinger of destruction, but a beacon of life, guiding those who dare to seek truth and redemption. Yet, as centuries passed, that covenant was obscured by betrayal and forgotten oaths." Torin's eyes widened with recognition as the spirit continued, "In your blood flows not only the scars of ancient misdeeds but also the essence of Eloria's own spirit. Cora, you are more than a guardian of legacy, you are the vessel of renewal. It was your love, your compassion, and your unyielding resolve that have rekindled the dormant covenant. The sacred flame, in its relentless brilliance, has chosen you to lead your people toward a destiny reborn." A ripple of shock passed through them. Cora's gaze drifted toward Torin, whose expression was an amalgam of reverence, regret, and a dawning comprehension. "So, all these trials, all the heartache, the legacy of our kin, both shadowed and luminous, they have led to this moment," she murmured. "I am the key to the sacred covenant, destined to heal the wounds of our past and ensure that the flame burns not as a curse, but as an everlasting promise of hope." Eloria's spectral form nodded gently. "But understand, redemption comes with sacrifice. The knowledge you now wield, the power to mend the fractures of your lineage, must be embraced even at the cost of profound personal loss. Only when you accept that every ending births a new beginning will the ancient bonds be restored." In that charged moment, the temple seemed to resonate with the echo of destiny. Riven's voice, usually so measured, broke the silence. "The revelation is as unexpected as it is transformative. Your heritage, Cora, is far greater than you ever imagined. The trials you have faced were not meant to break you, but to awaken within you the strength required to reshape our future." Torin stepped forward, his voice thick with emotion. "I have long carried the burden of my family's sins, feeling doomed to repeat the cycle of betrayal and regret. But if I may be forgiven, even by fate itself, I shall walk beside you, Cora, in this new light. Together, we shall be the architects of a destiny free from the shadows of our past." As the first light of dawn bathed the chamber in a celestial glow, Cora and Torin's hands entwined, a silent pledge of unity and unwavering commitment. In that moment, the spectral chains of old grievances and relentless curses shattered before their joined resolve. The revelation of Eloria had set in motion a transformation that transcended generations of bitterness. The sacred covenant was not a relic of sorrow but a living promise, a beacon that now pulsed with the newfound hope of redemption. In an almost imperceptible gesture, the spirit of Eloria extended an incorporeal hand toward a monument at the chamber's center, a crystalline pillar inscribed with runes that shimmered in the growing light. "Place your hands upon this monument," Eloria intoned. "Let your combined resolve activate the covenant of old, sealing the breach that has long divided your kind. In doing so, you will not only restore balance but unlock a future of healing and unity." With determined hearts, Cora and Torin approached the pillar. As their fingers met the cool, luminescent surface of the crystal, a surge of energy cascaded through the temple. The ancient runes ignited in a kaleidoscope of colors, weaving an intricate tapestry of light that enveloped them and radiated outward. In that instant, centuries of pain and betrayal dissolved into radiant sparks, sparks that danced like shooting stars across the vast expanse of their legacy. Riven, watching the transformative moment with quiet satisfaction, remarked softly, "This is the true power of redemption, a power that turns every scar into a star of hope, illuminating the darkest paths with the brilliance of forgiveness." The chamber vibrated with the hum of ancient energies harmonizing with the pulse of modern life. Outside, the urban skyline and wild landscapes, once discordant in their coexistence, now appeared united under the same radiant canopy. The sacred flame was no longer a relic of torment but a promise renewed, a covenant reborn from the shattered remnants of old grief into the luminous hope of tomorrow. As the light subsided, the spirit of Eloria spoke once more, her voice imbued with both finality and tender reassurance. "Your journey has rewritten the destiny of your bloodline, for in your hearts lies the power to transform wounds into wisdom, bitterness into benevolence. Carry this truth, and know that even in the face of life's fiercest trials, redemption is within reach when love guides the way. Cora, moved by the gravity of this final unveiling, looked deep into Torrhen's eyes. In them she found not only the reflection of a shared past laden with sorrow but also the radiant promise of a future crafted by mutual devotion and courage. Our legacy is no longer a chain that binds us to despair, she vowed, her voice resonating with a newfound power. It is a bridge that connects every soul, every memory, every lost hope to a future reimagined with grace and unity. Torrhen's expression softened as he squeezed her hand, echoing her determination. We have witnessed the truth of our origins, the cost of betrayal, and the transformative power of the sacred flame. Let us move forward with the certainty that every sacrifice has sown the seeds of a brighter tomorrow. The trio stood together, united in the light of dawn and the promise of renewal. In that final, breathtaking moment, the temple and its storied legacy became a testament to the timeless interplay of fire and spirit, of the enduring, blazing hope that arises when hearts, scarred yet unyielding, choose to forgive and rebuild. As the echoes of the ancient covenant dissolved into the radiance of the new day, the sacred flame burned higher than ever, a brilliant, unquenchable beacon marking the beginning of an era where destiny was reclaimed and every soul was given the chance to rise from the ashes of its past.